Good morning, everyone, and welcome aboard to the Human SOS show. Uh, we're having to adjust and work on the fly a little bit today. Anton is not feeling well this morning, and I'm on the road, but we're going to make the best of it and hopefully be able to get some good discussion in and look forward to everyone joining us. And today's topic is we're talking about 10% change and how that works, whether it works. So look forward to you joining us. Be sure and let uh, us know your thoughts. Tell us where you're joining from, and so we can uh, have conversation, engage on the topic. So again, hope you will join us as we have discussion this morning. Maybe a little bit noisy in the background. Hope you'll bear with me on that. And but I didn't want us to miss the opportunity to be together today. So again, let us know where you're joining from. Good morning, Zaid. Welcome aboard this morning. Glad to have you as always, and appreciate you joining. And I thought it was interesting. Did a poll yesterday in regards to this topic, and not surprisingly, we had some people that did not think that 10% was sufficient amount of change. Welcome, Dr. Jesmond. And I see someone identified as a LinkedIn user, and since I'm on my phone, I am not able to see who that is. So I assume maybe it's Sharon, but if you would identify yourself. And so anyway, question is about 10% change. And if you have not noticed, that is part of the um, part of our branding for Perspective Force, and that is 10% change. And we show that in the form of 10% fitter, 10% I'm sorry, 10% better and 10% impact. And what we are after is trying to um, get people to understand that we don't have to make a massive change. Good morning, Suzette, and Navarra, I believe, is here. Welcome. Good to see you all this morning. But the idea is that when quite often, there is Sharon. Okay, good morning, Sharon. Glad to have you. But the concept that we talk about in regards to 10% has to do with the idea that it's not necessary to um, bring about a complete 100% change when we try to grow and improve. And quite often people will jump in and feel like they've got to use an old phrase, turn over a new leaf, and that envisions being a complete change. Or we see it in other areas of our life when we go to diet or change our eating. You know, we make this dramatic change where we completely change how we eat and cook and those things. Or if we're looking at fitness, that we will jump in and we will start going to the gym, you know, 7 days a week, twice a day, that kind of thing. Which the problem with the concept is that we can't sustain that, and that's the whole challenge. There is that when we jump in and try to go overboard, uh, we can't sustain very long. And what happens is, in time, that we end up with a challenge that when we finally give in because we've over committed ourselves or are trying to reach too far, is when we quit, we end up in a worse state than we were when we started. And just something that we really need to consider as we move forward. Dr. Jesmond makes comment that in our medical research, 10% change always makes significant alteration. Yeah, it's really interesting that in our personal approach to things, so often we are feel like we have to do it all or nothing. And I understand the temptation. I've been there and done that on several occasions myself, and find out that depending on your level of determination, or in my case, stubbornness, will determine how long we will sustain with it. But many people will be done in a matter of even days and weeks when they jump into something, because again, it's not a sustainable approach. Zaid also makes comments, says, I think a small change constantly in the long run would make a huge difference compared with a sudden huge change. You're right, Zaid. What we have to understand is that when we're making corrections in our life and adjusting to situations, that we need to make changes that are not just for a time, which thinking particularly about diets and the like, that when we go on a diet, we make a drastic change, either a lot less food or a whole different kind of food or what have you. And that, again, is not what we're accustomed to, and it's not part of maybe even our personality, who we are, and we end up not lasting very long. And like I said, the typical process means that we go from where we were to a worse case after making the adjustment. Let's see. And I know this is either Sharon or Suzette, I believe. And comment is iteration or progressive elaboration. Consider small changes along the path to the goal. Yes. That's a key component, is a willingness to make adjustments slowly, and as a result, we have a lifestyle change, if you will. And so when we look at it in that light, we begin to think about, okay, what does that mean in other ways? And organizationally, we have to consider that rather than making these dramatic changes, again, trying to go to extreme levels. Good morning, Karen. Glad to have you with us this morning. But rather than going to these extremes, that we make adjustments. And in particular, part of what we do as Perspective Force is that we will not only look at 10% change, but be more targeted in what areas we change. Because again, if you try to make sweeping changes in all areas, it just doesn't endure, doesn't last. Good morning, Panda. Glad to have you. I hope the background noise is not too great. Let me know if it gets too much, and I'll see if I can adjust somehow. But just again, the option is to make small changes, and particularly in targeted areas. For example, one of the things we do with the assessment, the stress assessment, is to identify the area in our life that is providing the greatest stress, and going to the root of that, identifying it, and that becomes our target for our 10% change. The idea being that if we can make that change, um, uh, the when we start making that change, especially if it's in an area that is our, if you will, our most stressful area or weakest area, we have the best chance then of having an effect dealing with our weakest area as we go along. And so, yeah, it's just such an important thing not to try to jump in all forward and full bore ahead in a way that it's not realistic to sustain. And Panda makes a good comment that change is just the beginning. Yeah, and quite often with the intent of being real good at things, we will say, okay, well, I'm going to turn over a new leaf, change, 100% in a particular area. And I know that really sounds good and appealing. And there are some that even will coach in that fashion, that's the way to go about things. And what they don't understand is that it is not a sustainable way to approach it. And we just have to be realistic about it. And it's also, there's a psychological effect in that when we try to change 100% and we find ourselves only changing 50% or 10% or whatever amount, if it's less than our 100% goal, we become discouraged, feel like we are failing and make that a consideration, and it causes us to want to give up. And so the value of having a 10% approach is that we can maintain it and have encouragement as we move forward. The good news is that once we achieve the 10%, and if we are doing well with it, we can always do more. But along the way, we're not just getting totally discouraged with our lack of progress because taking smaller steps. And the other thing about looking at 10% concept is that, excuse me, that it helps us to set realistic goals to move towards something, and rather than to move away from something. That's another aspect of change that we have to take into consideration, and that is that we're more effective when we can move towards something rather than move away from it. And because, especially with our memory and everything, if we're always looking over our shoulder, trying to move away, see how far we are away from something, it's a distraction to moving forward. And so just, again, the principle is really a good one. I know that some people think that somehow that's less effective, or, less commitment, something. Just different mindsets that are a factor in it. And so we just want to make sure that we consider what is sustainable and that we take small steps forward. In fact, what I like to talk about is that we move forward with a little bit at a time, and then as we do, then we fail small steps and then gain small steps. And that's how we go about being successful. And so we just have to really consider that. That way we're more realistic in achieving our goals. One question to get y'all's feedback is the background noise a big problem for you guys? I can't tell on my end. Please let me know if it is. Let's see, Zaid makes a comment I always keep in the back of my mind. the compound effect of the movement, whether that is change or reading a book or any habit for that matter. So Zaid uses a 10% principle in a lot of different areas. I hadn't thought of it, but it certainly can be used in a lot of ways, like most any principle. And I believe this might be Sharon says, I feel that any change at all is a change for the better. It has been for me. And or if, my apologies if that was Suzette. Again, I'm kind of working at a disadvantage this morning. But yes, what we have got to a point in our culture where we look at success and only see the end result and don't consider that we have to make the steps along the way to be successful. And so we just want to keep moving forward. And again, if we're making small steps, when we fail smaller. And so that we're able to then pick up and recover and move forward. So it's just something that I hope that we can take and use to a positive way, and hope that we will take a different view of how to bring about change and how we can make those small step forwards. And one of the things that I know we try to get people to understand is success is not what you get when you've had a 100% change. The success is when you keep going each step of the way, when you fall down and then you get back up, keep moving. That's what real success is about. And that's part of the concept and principle of the 10% change. And so I hope that we can carry that forward to as many people as possible to help them be able to bring about real sustainable change. And the other part of that is that we want to make sure that we've identified the best place to initiate change. And therefore, if we go to the root area that is giving us the most problems, and we start changing there, then the effect is exponential, because quite often when we get down to the root cause and address it, it has implications and impact on other areas as well. So just a key to not try to focus on doing 100% change all at one time, because the likelihood is we're not going to be successful, not going to be sustainable. And when it causes us, when we try to go that way and we fail at it, we don't fail in a small way, but at least in our minds, we fail in a big way. So I really hope we'll work in that direction and try to be encouraging to each other. And I hate to do this today, but Anton not being here because he's not feeling well, and I'm kind of working at a disadvantage. I'm going to cut short this morning, but I didn't want to not have at least time with you guys, because I look forward to it very much, and I appreciate your support. We both do. And let's see, from Suzette, positive and negative change is a step forward. When I am challenged, there is an opportunity to learn and relearn. That we have learned, that we have learned can move us 4 steps as opposed to 2 steps ahead. Yes, and I like that, Suzette, that you bring up not just learning but relearning. And that becomes a key point of it as well. So I'm going to need to run, and I appreciate our time this morning, and I appreciate you guys being regulars with us. And we'll be back next week with, in fact, with Anton back next week. We'll continue this topic forward, because I know Anton offers some amazing insights as well. So thank you, everyone, for being here this morning, and be watching for the announcement for next week. And I so much appreciate y'all being here and sharing in the time and sharing your thoughts and ideas. So have an amazing rest of your week, and we'll plan on seeing you guys next Tuesday at 8 o'clock here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on YouTube. So thanks. You guys take care, and we will see you later. God bless, and take care.